You may start, Counsel Advocate Batohi. You are still under oath.
The chairperson.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Advocate Batohi, good morning.
Good morning,
Yeah.
Counsel.
Could I start with a recap of your evidence from Friday? When I asked you questions about the email from Inspector Danikas dated the 7th of August, 2019, you initially stated that you have no recollection of receiving the email. Later on, you stated that Advocate Mzinyati should have brought the email to your attention given the high-profile nature of the matter. In fact, your actual answer is, well, it should have been brought to my attention given the high-profile nature of this matter. You remember that?
I do.
Thank you very much. And then when I asked you again, you said, as I said, given the high-profile nature of this matter, it should have been brought to my attention. But Advocate Mzinyati thought it best to forward it to the DPP KZN, correct?
That is so.
Then I continued further, where I said, was it appropriate or not to bring it to the attention of the NDPP? And then you said, perhaps it was an oversight on his part, correct?
That is so.
Yes. Now, it is in that context that we asked, and we are grateful actually to, I think it's Advocate van Rensburg, who has been able to find these documents for us. It's in that context then that I want to ask you to look at page 354 of the bundle that's been handed up to you. 354 is the cover page.
Yes, I'm there.
Yes. Now, according to this, on the 8th of August 2019, Ms. Bulelwa Makeke forwarded the email of Mr. Danikas to you at 14 minutes past 9, correct?
Yes, I see that.
Yes. So you would therefore accept that this email was brought to your attention?
Yes, I see that.
Yes. Now, we can then see also that what we didn't have in the document that we gave you page 357 and 358 on Friday. But what Advocate van Rensburg has also been able to track is page 359. Can you see that?
I do see that.
Yes. Now, I don't want to read page 359 because it has a lot of expletives, but you would agree that it contains more abusive language from Major General Boyson directed at Mr. Danikas.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Now, could you then explain yourself why a witness who is being threatened and intimidated and abused has reported it to you personally, you have not taken action to protect that witness?
I can't recall what precisely happened at the time in 2019. I see that the email was forwarded to me as well as to Advocate Mzinyati and Advocate Matska, who was the in the NPS at the time. And I cannot recall what exactly happened at the time. And it will be speculative of me to try to answer that now. There are instances when matters are referred to me, and if the deputy national director is copied in there, I expect that they will in fact attend to it. And I can only imagine that that is what happened in this case.
Now, you see, the problem with that answer is that we went through that on Friday. And on Friday, you said that there was an oversight on the part of Advocate Mzinyati for not bringing it to your attention. You said that twice. And that's why Advocate van Rensburg's discovery is very important, because it shows that there was no oversight. The matter was brought to your attention directly. And that's why I have to ask you again, why did you fail to protect a witness who was being threatened and intimidated by a criminal accused?
It wasn't a failure to protect, because as I said, I can't even recall seeing these messages. I can only say that I would have expected Advocate Mzinyati, given that it was sent to him as well, as a deputy NDPP, to deal with it. But I did not see the contents of these messages at the time.
I'm not sure I understand. The email is sent to you. It attaches abusive content. It is criminal in nature because it amounts to witness tampering. You then claim that you did not see the contents. I find that remarkable. How could you not see the contents of an email that has been sent to you?
As I said, I don't read all the emails when a deputy national director is copied or it's sent to him or her. I would often leave it to them to deal with the matter as appropriate. And that is why, in this case, I would imagine I would have done the same.
Are you saying that when you said on Friday that this should have been brought to your attention, and I was certainly of the impression that it was not brought to your attention, now we know that it was brought to your attention. Despite all of that evidence, today you are saying you did not read it.
Today I'm saying that I would have left it to the deputy national director to deal with it, and I didn't look. I've not, as I said, I've not seen these messages, so I would not have read it at the time in 2019.
That I don't find difficult to understand. If you look at page 354, it is clear there. Good afternoon, Ms. Makeke. Kindly pass the letter to the attached, this letter to the head of the National Director of Public Prosecution, Ms. Shamila Batohi. Your name is written even in bold. It's clear that it is intended for your attention. And you say, no, I did not read the email at all.
There's a lot of matters that are sent for my attention that the deputies deal with. That's all I can say.
I beg your pardon?
There are a number of matters that are sent for the National Director's attention that the various deputies would deal with.
Can I just ask you a few questions around the answer you have given? What the facts show is that the complaint by Mr. Danikas was brought to your personal attention, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. What the facts also show is that you knew that Mr. Danikas was a witness, correct?
That is correct.
What the facts also show is that you knew that Mr. Boyson was an accused person.
That's correct.
Yes. And therefore, what the facts show us is that an accused person had contacted the witness, which on Friday you considered would have been illegal, correct?
That's correct.
We also know that you have an obligation as the NDPP, as the head of the NPA, to prevent the conduct of Mr. Boyson in potentially intimidating a witness, correct?
I have many obligations as a national director, but it doesn't mean that I deal with all of them personally.
I don't think you're answering me. I'm asking you whether or not you admit that you have an obligation as the NDPP to take action to stop the conduct of Mr. Boyson in intimidating and threatening a witness.
As I said, the national director has many obligations. It doesn't mean that he or she deals with it personally. In this case, in these circumstances, perhaps they should have dealt with it differently.
I don't think you're answering me. What I'm putting to you is that you have a legal obligation to take action to prevent the intimidation of a witness by an accused person. Do you admit that or do you deny that?
I'm not denying it. All I said is there are a number of obligations that a national director has, but it doesn't mean that he or she will deal with it personally.
Yes. What is the answer to my question? Do you admit or deny?
That is my answer to the question.
Well, is the answer yes or no? You either have the obligation or you don't have the obligation, or maybe you don't even know that you have an obligation like this.
That is my answer, and that's as far as I can take it.
No, I'm afraid, Advocate Batohi, you cannot get away from answering whether you know the extent of your obligations. You've been the NDPP for too long for you not to know your obligation. I put to you again, do you admit or deny that you have a legal obligation to prevent the conduct of Mr. Boyson in intimidating a witness?
I would say that as prosecutors, we must do whatever is necessary to prevent intimidation of witnesses.
Again,
I beg your pardon, Counsel. The question is directed to you as the head of the NPA, not directed to prosecutors. I think answer the question. Directed to you as a head.
Chairperson, as I said, if there's any allegations of witness tampering or intimidation, then yes, as the national director, you would be expected to look into it. But as I said, the national director has many obligations. It doesn't mean that he or she has to deal with it personally.
So the answer to my question is yes, you admit that you have the obligation I've described.
Yes.
Yes. Now, on the facts, you did not take any action yourself, any action. You did not even ask Advocate Mzinyati to deal with anything. You took absolutely no action to fulfill this obligation.
As I mentioned, if you look at it, Advocate Mzinyati and Advocate Matska, who was his immediate, who reported to Advocate Mzinyati directly, were both, this was sent to all of them, all of us, I should say. And in the circumstances, I get many emails like this, and where the head, the deputy national director, it's also sent to him, I expect that they will deal with it.
You see, this is, and I don't want to constantly accuse you of giving evasive answers and lying under oath. On Friday, you told us that there was an oversight on the part of Advocate Mzinyati for not bringing this to your attention. You also told us that given the high-profile nature of this matter, it should have been brought to your attention. And for you today to say that they were correct in not bringing it to your attention seems to me to be inconsistent. And I say, I don't want to go there again. And I want to just ask you again the question. I do not see any evidence on everything we've been sent by Ms. Karen van Rensburg that you personally took any action to fulfill this obligation.
I have to again state, a national director has many obligations, and it is not expected that he or she deals with everyone personally. In particular, when a deputy national director a communication is sent to him as well, I would often leave it to them to deal with the matter as appropriate.
Advocate Batohi, I must repeat my question. I have not come across anywhere in these documents that you personally took any action to fulfill the obligation you admitted you bear.
I've answered that question.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand the answer because you've answered it by evading it. And I repeat it again. I have not seen any evidence that you personally took any action to fulfill the obligation you admit you bear.
I am not evading the question. I have responded that it is not expected of a national director, particularly in these circumstances where a deputy national director, it's sent to him as well to deal with the matter personally. So in this case, yes, I did not deal with the matter personally.
Yes.
But the deputy national director it was addressed to him as well. So
Yes.
he has the delegated authority to deal with these matters.
Yes. Now, I can ask you now about the deputy national director. He also took no action.
Council, before you proceed, sorry to interrupt. Advocate Batohi, you keep on saying the NDPP has a lot of responsibilities that she deals with. Just to satisfy my curiosity, because we know from your evidence that you do not read dockets, and now this morning we know that you do not read all the mail that you receive. Can you just maybe enlighten us on the type of work that the NDPP does that keeps an NDPP so busy that she can't even read her emails that are sent to her inbox? Thank you.
I'm not saying I don't read emails. I read my emails, but where a deputy national is copied, I expect that they will deal with it. So if you want me to set out what the functions and roles of a national director are, it starts from the strategy. And so we have to look at what is the strategy of the NPA. And of course, the national director is responsible for implementation of the strategy. The strategy has various different aspects to it. And that would include, whatever the strategic objectives are. And they would relate to, at a high level, dealing with prosecutions, dealing with asset forfeiture, their access to justice issues. So there's a whole lot of high-level strategic objectives, and these are broken down into plans. And in addition to that, we have a number of, the NDPP is responsible for, in addition to what's in the strategic plan in terms of performance of the organization, etc., there's a number of strategic initiatives that we undertake in terms of what we refer to as our IPAC values: independence, professionalism, accountability, and credibility. And there are a number of strands that fall under that, that we are, for example, under independence. I can talk about a number of things that we deal with there. Professionalism deals with staff-related issues, a whole range of issues relating to capacities, capabilities, integrity issues. And then there's the issue of your reporting obligations to Parliament. There's the issue of dealing with sorry, I'm just trying to think. The reporting obligations to your stakeholder management is a big part of it, dealing with external stakeholders, attending to various stakeholder and other meetings, and then, of course, dealing with reviews that may come upon your table, representations, and etc. I think in order to be completely holistic, it might be advisable for me to write it down and send it to the panel so that they have a good idea of what exactly occupies the national director.
As a follow-up, in all the duties and responsibilities that you have mentioned, I didn't hear you once talking about anything to do with litigation. You talk about strategy, and maybe also assist me. You keep on talking about high level. I don't know what that high level means. If you can assist.
The NDPP does not get involved in litigation as such, in the sense that the NDPP does not prosecute him or herself. Where the NDPP is cited as a party in litigation proceedings, we have a legal affairs division that deals with that. High level, I'm not sure in what context to answer that. I don't understand the context of the question.
You said strategic implementation at a high level. And this is not the first time that you use the term high level when you answer a question. So I'm trying to understand what you mean by dealing with issues at a high level.
It's important for a national director to actually focus your initiatives at a strategic level, generally. The operational matters are dealt with colleagues that are below the national director. And to the extent that you need operational reports, these will be submitted to the national director.
Thank you.
Yes. Advocate Batohi, we are still dealing with Mr. Danikas. Now, I put it to you that even Advocate Mzinyati never addressed the allegations of witness tampering.
It appears so.
Yes. Now, I come back then to this issue. On the common cause facts, you took it up yourself personally, the whole matter of General Boysen and Nqcukaitobi, including appointing a panel and withdrawing the charges, writing a letter to the DPP telling them that there are no sustainable charges, even on the predicate offenses. Why were you not interested in allegations against General Boysen? To say, I did not read the email, strikes me as if you didn't care.
That's not the case. With regard to the Nqcukaitobi matter, I dealt with it personally because there was litigation, and I, as the national director, needed to understand and take a decision in that litigation. So it was important that I dealt with it personally. As far as me sending it back to the DPP...
I beg your pardon, Council. Please repeat what you've just said now.
Chairperson, there was litigation before the court, and then there was a review of the decision of Advocate Abrahams, the authorization for the racketeering charges. As a national director, I needed to decide what our approach will be in those review proceedings. So I needed to therefore personally get involved in order to decide, make a decision about the position we'll take in those review proceedings. And that is why I had to appoint a panel and get involved in the matter personally, because it was a decision I had to take myself. As far as the...
Before you get there, if my recording, my writing is correct, you answered to my sister that the NDPP does not get involved in litigation, something to that effect, because you have legal affairs. Now, what you've just said to me seemed to be inconsistent with that earlier statement. Am I correct?
No, Chairperson. What I meant is that the NDPP there is a legal affairs division that deals with litigation. But there may be instances when the legal affairs division will need to get direction either from the national director or from the EXCO in terms of what is the position that we take in particular litigation. It depends on what exactly the litigation is about. So they don't always do it, but in some instances they would seek the view of the national director or the EXCO. So to that extent, you will need to give direction to the legal affairs division. So the sense I meant is that the NDP doesn't actually get involved in the litigation in terms of, the processes that unfold in those litigations. Yeah.
It is common cause that these matters, particularly the Katumena matter, has a checkered history. When you took office early in that year, 2019, these matters had been ongoing, and you took office and found that there had been certain developments relating to the very matter that concerned Major General Boysons, correct?
That is correct.
And as you got involved personally in that litigation, the review application, didn't you then deem it fit to personally look into the history of the matter that might have given rise to the very application that Major General Boyson launched?
Chairperson, by appointing a panel to deal with the matter, I was in fact dealing with it in a sense personally, because I appointed the team to look at all of the evidence and to give me a report to enable me to make a decision. And in my view, that was dealing with the matter because I had to take a decision. But it didn't require, in my view, that I personally deal with it to the extent of reading every single docket in this matter and then personally attend to it in that way. In my view, I did give it the necessary attention in the circumstances.
The matter concerning the email communication from your communication official, Ms. Bulelwa Makeke, it arose last week.
That's right.
My understanding, and correct me if I am missing the point, what you said was that you did not receive the email. Is that correct?
As far as my recollection is, I couldn't recall having received it because I couldn't, when I saw the email, I couldn't remember it. So I assumed I did not receive it.
The issue concerning the involvement of Advocate Mzinyati was mentioned by you when you said that there might have been an oversight on the part of Advocate Mzinyati not to bring the matter to your attention. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And and if that is so, is it correct that had Advocate Mzinyati brought it to your attention, you would have reacted to it? Because that answer that gave rise to the need to have the email was on the assumption that the email had not reached you and that it was an oversight on the part of Advocate Mzinyati not to bring that to your attention, which presupposes that had you been aware of the communication, you would have acted upon it?
Chairperson, given what I was dealing with at the time, I would have asked him to look into this matter a little more closely, perhaps. And I'm trying to, cast my memory back now and state now what I think I would have done at the time. And that's what I would likely have done, is asked him to look into it. Because as I said, I didn't see these messages. I can't recall anyway having seen it at the time. And given that the matter was being dealt with, I would have asked him for some response to this, perhaps.
What are you saying, Advocate Batohi?
What I'm saying, Chairperson, is that had I been aware that there was witness tampering at the time, I would likely have asked him to have looked into this and sent me a report about this particular aspect.
How could you have known about that when you did not even read the email?
That is correct, Chairperson. I didn't know about it.
The question is, how could you have known about it when you did not read the email?
I didn't, Chairperson. That's why I said I've seen it now, these messages, for the first time.
And you've just answered that Advocate Mzinyati himself did not do anything.
I don't think he
I
didn't.
beg your pardon.
Apologize.
He did not do anything about the issues concerning witness tampering.
That appears to be the case, Chairperson.
What should we make of that as regards your leadership?
As I said, Chairperson, there are a number of matters that come to a National Director's attention. And whenever a deputy is copied in it, I expect that he will attend to it appropriately. And that is what I did in this case.
I understand that, Council. What I'm asking you, and you might assist us, what should we make of that, given the fact that, first of all, the email was addressed to you. Secondly, nothing was done about what appears to have been witness tampering or constituted witness tampering, and nobody did anything about that. My question is, as the head of NPA, what should we make of that, particularly as regards your leadership of the NPA?
Chairperson, as I
Because I'm asking this question, Council, and I'm asking it because the buck stops with you as the head. It may well be so that there's sometimes the delegation of powers, but the buck stops with you, particularly when an email of this nature is addressed to you. So what should we make of that?
Chairperson, as I said, indeed, the buck stops with the national director for everything that happens in a rather large organization of over 5,000 persons. It is not expected of a national director to deal with every single matter that comes across his or her desk. There are a number of people that have delegated authority. And in that sense, it's perfectly reasonable for a national director to expect very senior people, and we're not dealing with junior people, we're dealing with very senior people, including DPPs who have legal authority to deal with matters in their divisions, to address the matter. So it's not unreasonable of a national director to expect that these very senior people will attend to matters correctly.
Is there a formal delegation of powers by you to prosecutors such as Advocate Nzinyati to do certain functions that are supposed to be done by you?
Chairperson, there are, in terms of the Act, a deputy national director can do this, has the same powers and functions as a national director. But with regard to particular functions, there are specific formal delegations. Otherwise, they are responsible for everything that falls within his area of his business unit, should I put it, his or hers.
In terms of reporting and accounting to Parliament, if this matter were to arise in Parliament, were you going to tell Parliament that this function was delegated to somebody who did not do what he was supposed to have done, particularly when it is clear, as you indicated earlier, that there was witness tampering? Would you have said to Parliament, I do not execute such functions because these kind of matters are normally within the responsibilities of the DPP or somebody, your subordinate, whoever it is?
Yes, I would have, Chairperson.
And if this person failed to do what he ought to have done, as you indicated earlier, what would then happen to that advocate?
Depending on what the issue is, the national director should ensure accountability.
Now here, you've just mentioned that Advocate Nzinyati failed to address issues of witness tampering. Is that not serious to warrant an action against such an advocate?
I will look into the matter, Chairperson, and consider what steps I could potentially take to understand what exactly happened in this matter.
No, I'm just asking, as a matter of principle, if such an official or an advocate failed to act or address serious issues where there has been witness tampering by an accused person, what should then happen?
The national director.
What ought to have happened?
The national director should seek, firstly, a report from the staff member concerned to understand what happened in the matter.
Now, between 2019 July or August, when this email was sent to you until today, what steps have been taken against Advocate Mzinyat for failing to act?
Chairperson, none, because I cannot recall that I was fully aware of what happened in this matter.
Are you saying that between 2019 August until today, you have not acquainted yourself with the happenings in your office?
That's not correct, Chairperson.
I beg your pardon?
That is not correct.
What are you saying?
Between 2019 and now, I've certainly been acquainted with a lot of the happenings in my office. But in this particular case, I was not aware of what had happened with regard to this aspect of it. Yes, that's what I'm saying, Chairperson.
And this aspect of it is contained in a communication to the NPA concerning, among others, serious allegations against Major General Boysons, which impact on the administration of justice.
It appears so, Chairperson.
I have a follow-up.
Chairperson, there was another aspect of Nqcukaitobi's question that I didn't answer, and I don't want to forget to deal with that.
Council will go back to that question.
I have it written down. I just want to respond to it.
Yes, we are still asking you questions. You'll go back to that question.
You, when asked about the fact that Advocate Mzinyati did nothing about the complaint that you received on the 8th of August 2019, you said clearly something needs to be should be done to deal with that. But I'm wondering, because your answer is where you receive an email and a deputy, one of your deputies is copied. You don't read that email, meaning you won't know what the email contains, and you will not know what steps were taken to remedy what is in the email, and therefore you will not take any steps if the remedy was not done or the email was just ignored, because you do not know the contents of the email as per your previous answer.
As I was saying, I'm dealing with very high-level senior members in the NPA. And with the number of matters that I get across my emails, it would happen that a deputy, especially if a deputy is copied in, that I would expect that they would deal with the matter appropriately. And as senior members of the NPA, they are aware of when they need to bring something to my attention. That is what they're expected to do. So I expect that they will deal with it appropriately. And if there's anything that they feel they need to bring to my attention, they will do that.
You went back to the high level and a concept that I indicated earlier that I do not understand. Would you mind explaining it in the context of how you dealt with it just now?
Did I mention high level now? I don't recall mentioning high level now in my explanation of this in my response. So I'm trying to understand how to respond to that question in terms of context.
If I misheard, I will withdraw. But my understanding was when the witness started answering me, she said, as I said, I deal with high level. So for me, it's really confusing, but I can leave it at that. The record will bear me out.
Yes, I think we will be the transcript. Just the last part. Just the last part that is worrisome to me, Advocate Batohi. This Katomena cases, we all know by now that they involve racketeering, correct?
That is correct.
And in terms of the legislation, racketeering is within the exclusive jurisdiction of the head of the NPA. When you look at Section 2(4) and other provisions.
That's correct.
Now, this matters being within your exclusive jurisdiction. You take over from a former NDPP beginning of February 2019, and you deal with these matters in the manner you did, delegated a number of matters to some advocates on issues that are within your exclusive jurisdiction. I said, this is worrisome to me because no one will account on these matters other than you. Am I correct?
Chairperson, to explain this, I agree that the National Director is accountable.
No one will account on these matters within which you have an exclusive jurisdiction. Am I correct?
Chairperson, if I may be allowed to answer that and explain what I mean by that. Indeed, the NDPP is accountable for his or her decisions. And this is an NDPP's decision to authorize a racketeering matter. But it should not be worrisome that a national director deals with this matter in this way.
No, you cannot answer for me. They do worry me because I've listened to the evidence, I've looked at the legislative framework and provisions. That's why I'm asking you the question that being the head, who assists with these powers exclusively, and matters of this nature arise, who should really account? I do know, and I do take note of the fact that you could have delegated certain powers to some of your advocates because of your busy schedule. But now, because we are dealing with matters within your exclusive jurisdiction, I get worried that you might have failed to do what you ought to have done in terms of the legislation. I may be wrong. That's why I seek your assistance.
And Chip, Chairperson, this is what I'm trying to do, is to explain to the chair how these things are done so that it should, in my view, not be a cause for concern. If you look at how national directors deal with these authorizations, in fact, I think it was Advocate Mr. Nqasana's affidavit, where he says that when Advocate Jiba took the decisions that she did in the original authorizations, she relied on reports that were given to her from prosecutors, etc. And that's the correct thing. She absolutely did what is expected of her, even though authorizing is purely a national director's function. She was correct in relying on reports from either Advocate Chauke or the prosecutors in that matter, and not reading the dockets and documents herself. Well, not documents, but the dockets and all the evidence.
It will be helpful. I'm sorry to interpose. Let's not talk about what Advocate Jiba did. She's not before us. Let's talk about you. Because she may well have been here to answer the questions that I'm asking you, but she's not here. And as the head, you are the only one at this point who can assist us to understand how your office functions.
Chairperson, that's what I'm trying to do. I am not answering for Advocate Jiba. What I'm saying is, this is the way national directors deal with these matters. And I said she, in fact, acted appropriately in that matter when she took a decision and relied on reports from those that are her subordinates. That is the way a national director deals with these matters. Advocate Nqasana, likewise, decided not to appeal, and he can speak for himself if he's called. My understanding would be that he would not have looked at all of the dockets and read all of these in detail. And so all I'm saying, Chairperson, is that, and there's sufficient case law on this, that a national director is not expected to read every single docket and all the evidence, and that you can rely on others in your office, even though it relates to a racketeering matter, to give you reports and to make sure that you have the necessary assurance and checks in place to make the right decision. So in this case, Chairperson, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the way in which I managed this matter.
I do know, and I don't want to have this exchange with you, but I do know that you earlier answered that you don't read all documents. These questions revolve around the email which was directed to you personally. I'm not talking about a general issue relating to all documentations that are within the space of the NPA. I'm talking about communication involving these serious allegations of witness tampering in matters revolving around racketeering, which is within your exclusive jurisdiction.
Chairperson, I explained as I did, and I can take the matter no further.
Thank you.
So getting back, if I may, Chairperson, to one of...
Before you go back, let's just wait for counsel to take us to where he was.
Chairperson,
because we interrupted him with the question.
Yes.
Chairperson, I had actually been interrupted, with all due respect. I was answering counsel.
No. I'm saying he can remind us of the question he asked you when we interrupted your answer.
I have the question written down, Chairperson, and
No, he can ask it.
Okay.
Thank you. Advocate Batohi, I think just read what you want to read.
I appreciate
because that. You seem to be keen to read something.
No, I'm not keen to do it.
Just read it. I'll move to the next question.
Thank you very much. If I may then. I understood counsel to say
Don't read my question. Just read the answer you wanted to give. I have other questions.
I have to answer it in the context of the question. So I want to remind myself as well as the panel. So much has happened since then. I'm trying to find where I wrote it down. If you'll bear with me, Chairperson, just for a minute.
Advocate Nqcukaitobi, Advocate Batohi. My sister reminds me that it's long after tea time. As you are perusing your notes, looking for the question, Advocate Nqcukaitobi, I don't know whether you'd like us to take a break or you wait for Council Batohi to look for the question and answer, or whether you would like us to adjourn.
No, Madam Chair, you gave the correct instruction that I not to continue asking the questions. The witness countermanded. So I'm asking the witness, she must read what she wants to read. Now she's wasting time paging through. So if she's found the portion, she must just read it, so we move on. And I will be happy after that has been answered to take the adjournment. But I was happy with your initial direction, but the witness protested. That's fine. But she's now not reading.
Would you please read what you said you wrote?
Yes,
Because
I will.
I thought I was guiding.
Chairperson, with all due respect, if I had been allowed to answer the question fully at the time, I would have dealt with the two aspects. But a lot happened after that, and I've written a lot of things down, and I'm trying to go back to find it. So I'm not trying to waste time, Chairperson. I'm really trying to deal with this
It's not
efficiently.
helpful to be argumentative. It does not help any one of us, Advocate Batohi. I tried to assist by guiding, because I also wanted to recap where we ended, and I asked that the council could recap and take us where he ended when I interposed. And you insisted that you want to read your answer. And that's where we are now. Do you have the answer?
Thank you, Chairperson. If you'll give me a minute.
What is going on?
Chairperson, I will try. Chairperson, if I may, I will try to find it during the break. But what I recall was put to me was that words to the effect that I had, there was no evidence. I had indicated to the DPP that there was no evidence in the racketeering and predicate offenses. I could be mistaken. I need to check my notes carefully. But I want to say that I had indicated to the DPP that there was no evidence on the racketeering matter and that she was to decide on the predicate offenses in the matter. So I just wanted to clarify that.
So that's the answer you wanted to give.
Well, I'm still going to check and make sure your question was precise, but that is the answer that I wanted to give. Yes.
Thank you.
Council, may I just come in here? I know it's tea time. May I or not? Okay.
Advocate Nqcukaitobi, before my sister takes off, you want to follow up?
No, Madam Chair, I think we should take the adjournment. This has not been a productive 5 minutes.
Advocate Batohi. After the chairperson had asked questions, you insisted that you want to read the question. You insisted that you'd like to read the question that Advocate Nqcukaitobi had asked you. And the chairperson engaged you to say, no, but let's give him a chance to recap on that. And in your own word, you said, I have written the question and I'd like to read that question. And now when you are given the opportunity to read the question, now you can't find the question, you have to go through your notes. Is that the case?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Let's take a tea adjournment until 12 o'clock. You are